when you know truly 100% who you are and you can stand 10 toes down in yourself, good, bad, ugly, I don't give a F, when you can stand 10 toes down in who you are, there is a level of confidence in the way that you move throughout the world that is so powerful, because you are immune to people's opinions of you. You are immune to what other people think you should do. You are walking in your full 100% greatness, and you're going after that thing that you desire, that you know you're on this planet to do. When you can get to that level, you're no longer auditioning for your value. You are showing up as your 100% self. And from that place of power, you can create something that lives beyond you.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hey there, and welcome back. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. In today's episode, we have a true powerhouse joining us. I am beyond thrilled to announce our incredible guest today, Ms. Shereese Floyd, who is the CEO of Witness My Life. Shereese is an absolute rock star when it comes to personal and professional development, and she's here to share her expertise on building your thought leadership platform and becoming impossible to ignore. With over 20 years of experience in nonprofit marketing as the Director of Communications, Shereese has helped organizations increase revenue through the power of story-based marketing. She's an award-winning TEDx speaker, a seasoned speaker coach, and a TEDx Mint Street organizer. Her work has been featured in prestigious publications such as Chief Learning Officer, Essence, Forbes Entrepreneur Magazine, and CEO World. Talk about impressive. But what's truly setting Shereese apart is her passion for helping individuals like you, our amazing Black entrepreneurs, step into your greatness. She is the CEO of Witness My Life, a people and culture firm that partners with companies and universities to license women's leadership programs. She's a champion of personal and professional development, and she knows firsthand the power of leveraging your unique narrative to create a lasting impact. Shereese is going to drop some serious gems today, and I couldn't be more excited to have her on the show. She's going to break down the difference between being a subject matter expert and a thought leader, show you how to confidently embrace your expertise, and guide you in valuing your unique narrative as a Black entrepreneur. So get ready to be inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to stand out in this crowded marketplace. Shereese is here to help you unleash your brilliance and become impossible to ignore. So let's dive in. Shereese, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So excited to have you on the show today. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am really excited to be here with you today.
Yes, of course. Now, before we dive into today's conversation, I always like to get my listeners familiar with who I'm speaking with. So if you could just share a little bit about who you are, what is it that you do in your business, and kind of how you got where you are today.
Sure. Yes. My name is Shereese Floyd. I'm a professional speaker, and I am the owner of Witness My Life. And we are a people and cultures firm that works with primarily women and women of color to help them become thought leaders so they can get paid for their ideas and not their labor. And I ended up in this position really by accident. I'm a storyteller by trade. I've spent 20 years in nonprofit marketing using story-based marketing to help companies raise lots and lots and lots of money. And I had a personal experience of my own. I started sharing my story, and the more I started sharing my story, I saw how things in my business increased, my personal connections increased, and I just translated that into what I do today.
I love that. And now, how did you get into like coaching and then TEDx organization?
Coaching came from what I just mentioned. I had a personal story at that time. I was married to someone who was incarcerated, felt like I was hiding in plain sight. I didn't know anyone like me. And I knew there's millions of people incarcerated. So I knew there's somebody like me existed. And so once I started sharing that story and women started coming around, they were actually looking at me for my thoughts, because I was speaking on it in a way that people hadn't been speaking on it, if at all. And so the coaching came from that. And then once I really transitioned out of that lifestyle, grew up a little bit, my thought process was different. I really realized that my bigger concern was helping women not feel invisible in their lives, no matter what the circumstance was. And from there, TEDx is a good platform that helps with launch the careers of thought leaders, and also gets people really dialed into their story and what their actual message to the world is going to be. So there was just a lot of alignment with what I believe and what I felt in their platform. And so I now have seen it from all the angles. I was a TEDx speaker. I have been a TEDx coach, and in a couple of months I will be organizing my own TEDx here in Charlotte.
Wow, that is so dope. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Love it. So thank you so much for sharing that part of your story. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because it's right in alignment with what we're going to talk about today, which is being impossible to ignore and building your thought leadership platform. So first, I really want to talk about understanding what thought leadership is and its importance. So can you kind of explain what thought leadership means in the context of entrepreneurship and why it's important for business owners?
So thought leadership, there's tons of different definitions for it. And I always like to keep it simple, because we be doing the most sometimes. But for me, in the way that I teach it and understand it, it's really an expression of ideas that demonstrates a person's expertise in a particular area or topic. And it differs from a subject matter expert, because there is that element, like when you know who you are and you are truly dialed into what your message is, then your thoughts have much more depth than just sharing on a particular topic. And so your thought leadership becomes, motivational, inspirational. You have the power to influence people and also be innovative in what it is that you know. It's important to entrepreneurship because it really is an overlooked way of marketing. People don't really understand that just getting out into the world, what you think, what you feel, what you know, is a way to market you. In a lot of ways, it's a very cost-effective way to do that. And there was a study done by LinkedIn and Edelman that said that 58% of decision makers go with the business that demonstrates some level of thought leadership. And so if you have a product or service and you're selling whatever you're selling, but you have gone a step further, and I can Google you and see that you have been on podcasts or that you have written articles and that you're really demonstrating the expertise, then I would be more than likely to hire you versus someone who may have a similar product or service.
I love that. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, because when I'm looking at someone, I'm definitely going, even for the podcast, I'm like, okay, where have you spoken before at length about this or that? But then also, like, it shows that it helps with that credibility aspect. And so my next question to that, and you kind of touched on it as well, but I kind of want to make it plain. So making like how thought leadership helps entrepreneurs stand out in like crowded marketplace, because there are a lot of people, especially when it comes to online, talking about the same things and doing the same thing. So for those who are listening, they're like, okay, my market seems crowded. So how am I going to stand out in this crowded marketplace and then establish my credibility?
I love that you're using the word crowded marketplace. And I love that sometimes people also say it's saturated. But here's the thing. The way that you stand out in a crowded and or saturated marketplace is be you, because there's only one of you. And so to stand out, the reason people feel like it's crowded and saturated is because everybody is talking about the same thing. When you are a thought leader your thought, it's filtered through how you think, your experiences, your expertise, and your point of view. And this is what I mean by it has to go deeper than just a subject matter expert, because you're the only one that think and feel and have the experiences that you've had. And so you need to be able to tap into who you are as a person. And that's why when I say that I'm a storyteller by trade, we do your story first and foremost. We're going to talk about why you're doing this. We get involved with what you have been doing in your life over the course of your life that shows that this is how you think. This is the same pattern, or this is the same thought process that has been showing up over and over. So standing out means first knowing who you are and then putting that spin on it through only the lens that, the lens that only you have. And then you're talking about that subject matter, but you're talking about it in a much more different and innovative way. And that's how you stand out. The one thing that people are afraid to do, if everybody is saying this, you need to be over here saying that. Mm-hmm. And that is how you stand out. You may believe what all the people are saying over here, but there's something in your expertise or your point of view is slightly different. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it in this way. And that's how you stand out.
Love that. On fire, Shereese. You are on fire.
Okay.
Yes, you are. So now someone is listening. And of course, a lot of entrepreneurs think they need to be experts in their field before they can become thought leaders. So can you share your thoughts on this and offer some guidance for those who may be a little hesitant to start to position themselves as thought leaders?
Yes. And again, a great question, because we're going to go back to what I said just previously. You were the only you on the planet. So guess what that means? You are an expert in your own life, your own experiences, your own expertise. You are the expert of your own life. You are the hero in your own story. Again, nobody else can do that. Nobody else can be that. And so when we start looking at, for those of us who may have come from a corporate environment and then we went into entrepreneurship and then we're like, okay, we're new at being an entrepreneur. You're new at being an entrepreneur, but you're not new at work. You still have the same foundation of experience that a lot of us are building on top of that. And so you're not starting from zero, you're building a new experience. And so we really have to reframe the way that we think about expertise. Now, obviously, if you are switching into a brand new field and you truly don't know anything about that, that is one thing. But most of us come with a set of experiences. A lot of us are multi-passionate and can do a lot of things. What are those things that we do? What are the things that people ask us to do that we would do for free that we probably should be monetizing? All of that stuff is gathered together to create the expert that you are. So if you are listening to this right now, you are an expert in something. Tap into that. Your experience of your life has made you an expert in the journey of you. So tap into that and get out there and just start doing your thing. We're waiting for you.
We are. Tap in. Love that. And Shereese, one of the things I also love about the work that you're doing, and you also mentioned it before, is the fact that you are in storytelling. So I think this is very important, especially for my listeners who are Black entrepreneurs, and valuing our unique narratives as Black entrepreneurs. So I want to dive into that and why it's important for entrepreneurs, specifically Black entrepreneurs, to value their unique narrative in today's market.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, I am one of those people. I really truly believe that telling our stories is the one way to really bring this world together. And that was the basis of the TEDx that I did. And I'm going to say specifically for Black people and Black entrepreneurs, they don't know our story. And they as in the world. They don't know our story the way that we know our story. And this is why the things that we hear coming back to us from, outlets, we're like, they know one aspect of our story. The only way that we get to control the narrative is if we start talking. And so it's important for us as entrepreneurs to tell the story of who we are and why we started our business. We all know the history of our people, and a lot of that, and I hate to even go down this road, but I'm gonna go ahead and go.
Go ahead.
A lot of our story is steeped in struggle, in trauma, in hopelessness, in that kind of, people got to give us a hand up kind of thing. That is not our only story. In fact, that story is getting a little old. That is not our only story. And the only way that we break past that and move into that area of Black excellence, move into that area of kings and queens, we have to be in charge of our narrative. And that story the story of who we are becomes so much more important. And a lot of storytellers out here will teach you that you need to have, some sort of horrific story. You need to have a struggle story. But telling those types of stories is a very oppressive narrative, because you end up attracting to you people who are in the struggle. And when they're in the struggle, they're not trying to pay your rates. They looking for discounts. They want hookups, because you have attracted people who are in the struggle because of the type of stories that you are telling. So if you want better clients, tell better stories.
Ooh, that is a quote right there. I am so glad you said that. And it brings me to, because I had a friend who, I was helping her with her business, and she wanted to start a business, but she said, I'm like, who's in the industry doing what you're doing? Look at what they're doing and, try to get some inspiration. And one of the things she talked about was, I feel like I don't have a struggle story. Like, I feel like people gravitate towards that person because of their struggle story. And I told her to twist it. Like, talk about the triumph, the narrative that you're changing, even for your children. You have children. A lot of people can relate to that and the better life that you're giving them. But so many people do want a struggle story. I'm like, I came from the struggle. I wish that wasn't my story.
Okay.
So, I'm so glad that you talked about that. Yes.
Yes.
So, how as Black entrepreneurs, they can start to identify our value and our unique narratives? Like, what are some of the steps that people can take to start to uncover their authentic voice?
So what I like for us to do, and it's hard for us to do it because, honey, I'm about to tell you this, and I know it'd be hard for me to do it.
It's real.
But when God told us to get still, honey, when you get still, you can hear the things that all of the busyness is on top of. And so one of the things is really, first and foremost, and I'm not even saying this in a trivial way, is to really get still. Get somewhere, if it's in nature, if it's a bath, if it's somewhere, start with just kind of knowing, kind of listening to what are the thoughts? Like, write them down, get them out of your head. Now, for real practical tips on how to know, how to begin telling your story, you have to get to the why you are doing what you're doing. And for most of us, making money is not a strong enough why to keep us motivated, not in just that statement. And I always say, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough. Now, you could be making money for your kids, for a legacy, all of those things that we love to say, breaking generational curses, all of the stuff that we see, people saying. But it has to be something that's so deep and personal for you. And that's why the getting still becomes important, because you start to hear, what are those things that are important to me? And so if you say that you want to make money for your kids, why do you want to make money for your kids? And so, there's this exercise called the 5 whys, where you keep asking yourself, why, until you hit something that's emotional. And so I'll just give you an example. I had a client who was a financial planner. And when I asked her, she did really well in financial planning. I asked her, why did she do this? Obviously, she told me she wanted to make money because she made really good money doing it. And so when I asked, okay, but why do you want to make money? And she said, because I want to be home for my kids. But why do you want to be home for your kids? because when I was little, my dad worked a lot and he was never home for me. And so we're like, okay, so why wasn't he home? Because he was making a better life. But as we kept going through it, because sometimes you get stuck in your head, her real why was that she wanted to be home because she didn't want her kids to feel unloved if she wasn't available for their events like she felt when he wasn't home. Now, her grown self knows that he was out making money to better the family, but her 6, 7-year-old self doesn't know that. All she knows is that he's not here. So the why goes from, I want to make money to stay home for my kids, to know you're actually doing this so in your mind your kids feel loved, so they know that mom is there. And so that becomes a different context. So once you get grounded in your why, then you can say, okay, what do I need to do around this why to make this a reality for my kids? And then you just, whatever your area of expertise is, you build the business around that concept.
I like that. I'm over here breaking down the whys in my head. Okay, getting deeper. Love that exercise. Okay. So now, Shereese, in your experience, what are some of the unique challenges that you think Black entrepreneurs face in starting to establish themselves as thought leaders, and how can they overcome these challenges?
One of the biggest challenges I see is something we talked about earlier, is people not believing that they're an expert, which really translates into like a lack of confidence, or being afraid to put themselves out there, or thinking that they don't know enough, or it's that whole imposter syndrome. I don't really like that little thingy, but people go with it, so we're gonna go with it. But it really is this fear that's grounded. A lot of times the fear that we feel is really a fear of success. It's not necessarily, sometimes, we say it's a fear of rejection. It's really a fear of success. What if this thing actually does work out? And you have to be the person that rises to the level of, now, you're not quite the person you need to be. You have to grow into this person. So when you say you want something or you desire something, you got to be ready for who the new person is to keep that thing that you desire. So it gets down to understanding, being clear about what the desire is, and if you want it truly, and can you maintain it? And so I see a lot of people being afraid to just kind of, just do it. I mean, Nike has the best phrase ever, just do it. And once you start overthinking it, you're going to give yourself reasons why it's not going to work. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to just, all of the rational thinking is going to come in. But if you just do it, don't think about it, allow it to be messy, and just do it. The world truly needs more thought leaders of color. Like, we have to be the ones that pick up this mantle and move it forward into the next generation.
Definitely agree with that. And let's talk about what not doing it can do. So what it can do if you do it. So how can embracing one's, this uniqueness that you offer as a Black entrepreneur lead to those greater opportunities, influence, and impact? Like, how can it impact people?
Number one, when we know who we are and tell our story, we really do give other people the permission to be seen and heard. So when I go back to the friend that you mentioned that talked about how she did not have a struggle story, every single one of us we have all lived, the business of being human is hard. So we're having universal experiences and universal feelings. They just look different for every one of us. And so when you know truly 100% who you are, and you can stand 10 toes down in yourself, good, bad, ugly, I don't give a F, when you can stand 10 toes down in who you are, there is a level of confidence in the way that you move throughout the world is so powerful, because you are immune to people's opinions of you. You are immune to what other people think you should do. You are walking in your full 100% greatness, and you're going after that thing that you desire, that you know you're on this planet to do. When you can get to that level, you're no longer auditioning for your value. You are showing up as your 100% self. And from that place of power, you can create something that lives beyond you. And so it really does get back to, and I think what we have seen, and we have seen this in the marketplace ourselves, where you see someone, they have one type of business, and then a couple months later they have another type of business, and then a couple months later it's another type of business. This is someone who doesn't really truly know. I mean, we're all multi-passionate, not taking that away. But in order to build something that's sustainable, I think we get confused with this whole, we've got to have 7, 8, income streams. But you have laid no foundation for the first one, right?
Talk about it. That's true.
And so you're like building, and that's where you see the difference between someone who is going to build something sustainable versus someone who is out here on a hustle. A hustle is very different from someone who is in business truly to solve a problem and using the backdrop of their lives to be able to do that. And so one really important question when you think about going in thought leadership and into business is to ask yourself, because what is an experience that I have had that I don't want anyone else to have? And this is not necessarily a struggle. It could be any kind of experience, because that sets up the problem solution dynamic. This thing has happened. I don't like how this feels. I don't like what this means to our world. I have a solution to it because I have an expertise that can fix it. So when you start from that angle of really serving the people, but serving the people to make your coin, not just out here serving because you got a big heart, because that's a whole nother story.
It's
But
true.
then you can start from, you got to know who you are, because being human is hard, and being in business when you don't know who you are is harder.
That is so true. No longer auditioning for our value. I love that. Yes. So now that we know all the things about what a thought leader is, why it's important for Black entrepreneurs to think about or can be a thought leader, let's talk about positioning our narratives to become impossible to ignore. So once an entrepreneur has identified what their unique narrative is, how can they start to strategically position it to gain that attention and recognition?
So once you know what the narrative is, then you want to take the themes that come from that narrative. So let's just say if we were talking about the story that I talked about earlier, when I was married to someone incarcerated. And just for those of you listening, no, I'm not married to that person no more. That was a whole other time. Let me just say.
They're like, right?
No. Okay. Let's just say we were taught that was the narrative that we were going with. So what are the themes that are coming from that? The themes could be overcoming adversity. The themes could be, oh my God, I'm laughing at this nonsense that I used to believe.
This is a serious moment.
The themes could be commitment. I used to be like the truest form of commitment. We really do. Okay. Maybe that's not a good example because I don't even.
So wait, you're saying this is what you were talking about when you were in that situation, yes. The commitment. Yes. Oh, wow. Okay.
It was a whole nother life. So we're going to scrap that. We're not even going to use that as an example.
A bit. I love the realness.
Yeah, thank God for growth, honey. No, but you are going to pull out the themes. So, say for instance, let's go back to the financial planner. So she can pull out things about single parenthood. She could pull out things about saving for fun, because that was part of her thing, that she felt like she didn't have any fun when her parents was out of the home. She could talk about money and having fun. She could talk about the relationship between parents and work. She could talk about the relationship between daughters. And so you pull out these different themes and then you say, okay, where can I position this? Where can I put this information? So if we were talking about her as a financial planner, starting her business as a financial planner, that could be an entrepreneur magazine. If we're talking about the idea of saving for fun for a parent, that could be parenting, that could be working mother. And so you look and see, you have to broaden what it is that you're doing. And that's where we're saying thought leadership comes from the foundation of your story. So it all leads back to this person who is a financial planner, but she's talking about herself in different ways from the themes that come out of the story. And so this is how you keep yourself, one, from going into that crowded market, because if she only just talked about finances, it's 11 people talking about finances. But nobody might not necessarily be talking about why finances is important when you're saving for fun. So you have to say, okay, this theme might be the theme that everybody is talking about, but over here, I can tweak this and finesse this. It all still leads back to me. My name is on it. I'm featured on it. So when it goes into Google, you're like, oh, people can see your thought. It's a well-rounded portrait that you're putting out there. So you have to be able to first know the story, and then what are the themes that come out of the story to be able to position it.
I love that. Okay. And now, of course, we're in this content creation world. So when it comes to leveraging that narrative for content creation purposes, public speaking purposes, or networking, like what are some strategies that you would say one should have?
Well, I definitely believe that every entrepreneur that desires to, because everybody doesn't desire, but I will say speaking is an incredible way to fill your pipeline and to demonstrate your thought leadership. And speaking is always, always, always in demand. This is $1 billion+ industry. I can't remember the number of billions, but it's in the billions industry. So speaking is very important. Also, you want to be able to demonstrate that you can command the topic, because sometimes it's easy to hide behind like an article or something like that, but speaking allows you to be able to command the topic. Now, articles are really important, and I teach people about appreciating assets. And what I mean by that is that when you're talking content creation, we spend a lot of time in social media getting our little graphics together, putting our captions up, all of that little stuff. Honey, in 5 minutes, and probably less than 5 minutes, that is a depreciating asset, because only a certain amount of people see it, and it's already pushed down. It's already gone. So when you think about appreciating assets, those are the things like your LinkedIn articles, your features in magazines and online publications, or guest blogs. Those are the things that will always work for you, because anything that is indexed by Google or that is searchable becomes part of your thought leadership platform. And so I know social media is important, and I'm not saying that it's not, but you want to be able to create those assets that are going to do the most work for you, because people are going to Google you, because I Google everything.
Me too.
People are going to Google you and see, what are you truly about, and read about you. So social media is important, but I want people to focus on those appreciating assets that are going to work for you over time.
Shereese, I just want you to know that you are stepping all on my toes, because I think about my head of growth. He's like, you need to write articles. And I'm like, I don't need to write articles. Nobody's going to read. Like, it's another way to get friends, but it makes so much sense. And then he's going to say, like, somebody else has to say it for you to believe it. So he's going to hear this episode. Jamora heard you and Shereese. Got it. So now, Shereese, are there any like people or success stories or examples that you can think of, or of Black people who have like effectively positioned their narratives to become impossible to ignore?
Yes, very proud of someone that I work with. She was her platform was around single moms, and when we first came together to do her story, she knew that she wanted to talk about single moms, but there was, there was that little bit of stigma. I think her daughter was like 17 or 18 at the time, and so there was some stigma around it in terms of a family narrative that was attached to her story, of people not being happy for her when she was pregnant. The whole story, people were like, oh, you never make anything of yourself. So she had some stuff that she had to clear out of the way in order to start telling the story. Well, once we started working together, and I would advise this because she was afraid to tell her story because of that, and I would advise anyone that none of us are living life in a vacuum, so our stories are usually attached to other people. But if you are telling the truth about your narrative, then that is a story that you can own. If you know that you can, go 10 toes down on your piece, that is a story that you can own. And so we worked together for her to be able to tell this story about being a single mom. Her platform was around single moms still dreaming beyond, like, you're not just a single mom kind of thing. And so she had been, was told that she wasn't going to amount to anything, but she was very successful. Her daughter was also very successful. She had did the thing that people told her that she wasn't able to do. And so that was the platform. And so we worked together, got her to tell her story, taught her how to tell her story. And then she landed media from it, which this is very exciting to see your baby on TV. You're like, oh, but landed media around it. And she's still doing that today. She's done some retreats. She's got a coaching program that she's built around being a single mom, and more about being good to yourself and self-care type of thing. So it's expanded out a little bit more. But yeah, I've worked with women on that. I've also, worked with women to launch their businesses around their story, teaching them how to tell their story in their coaching programs. So I've got quite a few success stories, and I like to teach people how to do this for themselves. And yes, you can pay somebody to do it. And if you need to, please go ahead and do it. But a lot of this, once you get it down, just put it in front of people, Once you get it down, your story doesn't get old. It's you. So it's not getting old. It's you.
Love that. I love it. Love it. And I now want to touch on the role of personal and professional development in all of this. So how does personal and professional development play a role in building your thought leadership platform?
Oh my gosh, thank you for this awesome question too. It's probably one of the most important questions. So let me just say, personal and professional development is everything when you're talking about thought leadership, because if you don't know, I'm finna tell you, you are only going to go as far as you believe in yourself and or have healed. And so we should always be in a space of trying to be better, trying to exceed ourselves, not for anyone else. Our only competition is ourselves. There is no other competition but you. But personal and professional development becomes important because it allows us to have evolution and it allows us to have growth. And so what I mean by this is that one of the things that I see people say all the time is that self-awareness is one of the best parts of leadership. Like, to be a good leader, you have to have self-awareness. I say to be a good leader, you need to take action on that self-awareness, because I can be self-aware enough to know that when I am stressed or stressed out, that I'm not nice, that I am mean, or that I'm rude to people. I can know that. But until I actually do something with that, that means that the people that I am leading, I'm rude to. It's like the self-awareness is just not enough. So as I'm doing personal development, professional development that allows me to evolve past just the awareness piece. Because leadership is really a relationship with yourself. It is the relationship with yourself and how you translate that to other people. So if I know that I'm stressed, that when I get stressed that I get mean, but I haven't done any work on myself to help me better maintain my stress, now I'm taking that stress out on people. And how this relates to thought leadership is that if you have a thought, just like earlier I said, there was a period in my life when I was all in on, being with people in the incarceration lifestyle, and I'm not taking anything from people who are in that. But here I am 15 years later, and that girl who has done a lot of work on herself, she does not think the same. So the personal development and the professional development gives your thought leadership depth. Again, when you talk about that crowded market, if you are just doing surface level thoughts, that goes right into ain't nobody thinking about you. Yes, people will ignore you. But because now you've got some depth to what you are talking about, we can tell that there is something under what you're saying. And that's why it becomes important, not only for your own evolution, but for the growth of yourself and the growth of your audience, and how deep you can really take your thoughts. Thought leadership is more about going deep than it is going wide.
I love that, about going deep and going wide. And that brings me to the next point of people understanding like the sustainability aspect and the long-term success of once you begin to do that and the continuous learning that takes place. So I want to talk about your thoughts on that. Like, how can continuous learning and growth contribute to sustainability and long-term success of a thought leadership platform?
Yeah, there's two. What's cool about thought leadership, as we talked before, it is the story of you. It's your thoughts. And unless you've had a vastly different change like I did, most people's thoughts, they look back over time, they're still relevant to 2-3 years from now. So once you build a collection of assets, those assets will still probably do the work for you a couple years from now. But you also want to be taking into consideration how we do actually change, how those changes impact the way that not only we see the world, the way that we show up in the world. And sometimes, and I've had clients to have done this, they will put their thoughts out into the world and they don't like what's reflected back to them. And that is a level, sometimes where, we can't see ourselves the way we actually are until we see it out there and we're like, oh, I don't really like that, which also happens to me. But continuous learning becomes really important, because the more that we, soak up things and be outside of the people, get outside of the people. I know we're talking about, Black people, Black entrepreneurship. Get outside of the people who look like you. Get outside of the neighborhoods where you grew up in. Get outside of the experiences that you've had, because there is so much world out there, and you will be amazed how just the slightest little different, the slightest little extra something will influence the way that you think about something, an idea that you have had for years, and you're like, oh, I never saw it that way. And that is the reason why I say that our stories have that ability to change the world, because you really want people to kind of have that moment where like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And not that it's changing who you are, it's giving you the permission to grow into something else and then speak from that area as well. And so when you're doing thought leadership and you're doing it well and you're invested in it, you should see an evolution of yourself over time, and you will continue to attract those people who you are called to serve, and attract the people that you're meant to help.
Well said, Shereese. Well said. Okay, this has been so much full of so much value. Now let's talk about the work that you're doing, because I know people are listening like, okay, I need to work with her. What does she got going on? Like, tell me. So can you share with my audience how you and Witness My Life is helping entrepreneurs in valuing their unique narratives and building their thought leadership platform? So discuss your offers and your services.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do this in a number of ways. We do a lot of training and facilitation for organizations where we go in and help, because there's the thought leadership aspect as the individual, and then there's the thought leadership aspect as an organization. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. Better if they overlap. So we do a lot of facilitation around thought leadership. We do different themes again around aligning your purpose and your paycheck, and we do speaking for employee relations groups in the corporate space and all of that. So working with entrepreneurs, we have one-on-one consulting that we do where we help you kind of flesh out your story, and we build all of that out for you. Like, this is the story, this is how you would use it in social media, these are the themes that will come from it, these are the publications that you need to pitch from it, and all of that. And we do offer, we partner with other PR firms to do pitching, so we do that also. And then for the women who are listening, sorry guys, this is a just women project right now.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. We have a project called the Witness My Life Project. It's I launched a t-shirt line around telling your memoir. I call it Memoir Wear, and so it allows women to wear their shirt if it's based on a true story, based on a love story, based on a survivor story, and tell their story through the lens of that t-shirt. And then we publish it in books, we publish it on our website, and it gives women the opportunity to center themselves and really, really take ownership of their stories. And then from there, they can decide what they want to do with it. For a lot of women, just being able to see themselves in a different way will set them on a path that, they didn't even know that they could do. And it's just giving women the courage. And so everything that we do at Witness My Life is about helping people be seen and heard. We are about stories, all stories, period. So that's how you can work with me.
Love it. And for you, like, how do you stay organized as a leader? Some of the tools and resources that you use in your entrepreneur journey, can you just share those with my audience?
Yes, I definitely have an assistant because, in full transparency, I am not good with staying on top of my email, and there will be opportunities in my email where, like, I be the person that reply in my head, not really replying for real.
Yes.
So I had to get an assistant for that. But my technology stack is basically, I just moved from WordPress to Squarespace for my website. I use Google Suite, all of their stuff for organization, email, calendar, all the things. I use all of the Google products. And then for my CRM, I am using Zoho One to keep people organized. And I like that it also has, the contract, the extra email system, like it's a whole system unto itself. And it's very inexpensive if you are a team of one. I think it's like $42 a month if you are a team of one, and you get all of these integrated pieces to help you run your business. So I have a very, very lean process because of the nature of the business that I do. So that's really about it. Yeah.
The assistant is a great weapon.
Yes.
So I think people are like, okay, I need that. So good.
Yes.
So that. And so what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's in their first year of business?
First year of business, number one, you got to know why you're doing it. It's like we wrapping up. We're going to repeat the stuff. You got to know why, like your real why of why you're doing it. And then the only thing that you need to be concerned about is business development, meaning getting in front of people to make sales, money, sales. All of the other stuff, the beautiful pictures, the beautiful website, social media, all of that stuff can wait until after you get the sales. And don't believe the hype. You do not need a website to make sales. I mean, if you have it, yes, but don't make that don't get so focused on that, because what happens is that we get all of these pieces thinking that we're doing something and the money ain't coming in, and then we're getting stressed. So focus on the money first. And I am telling you this because I was the girl who took the photos first. I'm like, I want pretty. So I'm telling you now that I know better.
Yes.
Focus on getting the clients first, getting in front of people. Your network is bigger than what you think it is. And don't be afraid to ask people for the sale. Ask people to work with you. That first level of business, if you can dial in truly who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and getting in front of people, if you get in front of people with just the clarity of knowing who you are, that will take you so much farther than a website and pretty pictures.
I love that. I love that. Focus on the money first and not the photos. Shereese, I had to go back and say, like, where is she from? She's so like witty. And yeah, you're definitely Southern, I could tell. Like, I was focused on the photos first. Love that advice. I love that advice. And okay, so now let's get into a round of not so serious business. So a little fun question to end it off. So if you had to swap lives with any fictional character from a TV show or movie, who would it be and why?
Girl, I'm going all in. Wonder Woman is my girl. I
love it. Yeah. Okay.
Totally all things Wonder Woman. And the reason I would swap with her is because I feel like she is my spirit goddess. Wonder Woman is clear about who she is. She has no qualms about being fierce, about being at the top of her game. She is that chick. And she also has a softer side. She's about love, humanity, and justice. And so for me, she shows me that those things can coexist together. And that is, how I try to live my life.
I love that. Okay. And what's the most adventurous or daring thing you've ever done?
Oh, geez. Oh, gosh. The most adventurous or daring thing. The thing that's popping in my head right now is doing a mud run, because for people who know me, they know I do not like stuff on me. Like, I don't like stuff on my hands. I'm the girl, if you go to dinner with me, bring me the whole stack of napkins, because once something get on my hands, it's going to be a wrap.
Right.
So for me to actually do a mud run in my bougie self, I think that was pretty adventurous for me, because that mud gets everywhere. And then I was in resistance when I started it, and I had to let it go. And it felt very, very freeing by the end to just go with it. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. The nice ending. Yes. All right. So share a funny or embarrassing moment from your early days as an entrepreneur that taught you a valuable lesson.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So I would always say that I was really horrible at public speaking. Like, you would not know that now, but that would be my narrative. I hate speaking. I don't speak. And so what I will say, if there's anyone out there listening, if you're telling yourself that you're bad at something, your body is going to do whatever it can to make it true. So I told myself that I was bad at this, and I get in front of, I get in front of a group of people to speak. And every time I would speak, I would often sound like I was going to cry, but I had psyched myself out so bad that I unraveled in front of them. And so when I say unraveled, it was like blank. I went blank a couple times. I could not remember what my topic was supposed to be. I was shaking. It was a hideous, hideous mess. And let me just also say that it was recorded. And so Lord. The people came to me because it was, they were using it for some sort of promotion after. I mean, it was a horrible experience. They came to me and asked me, they were like, there was still some good information in it once you pulled yourself together. Are you comfortable with us still using the footage? And so I had to make a decision about whether I was going to be in my ego and my embarrassment, or whether I was going to allow them to use it because the information still could provide value. And I let them use it, but trust me, Lord, I never looked at that footage.
like, that's for y'all.
Okay.
I feel it. I am feeling. Okay. That's a good story, like, and so, but now look at you. Like, how did you get from there to here?
It really was going through my own story because my aunt had said something to me when I did my TEDx. She was like, "My shy girl has grown up." I would never have called myself shy. It wasn't the fact that I was shy. It was that my voice was silenced when I was younger. And so when we come from those households, and again, we're not going into struggle, but sometimes we come from those households where it's like speak when you're spoken to, staying out of grown folks' business. Some of the things that we hear silences us and changes who we think we are. And once I started going through my story and with some therapy, just keeping it all the way 100 with y'all, my country self.
Yes.
And with that, I realized that it wasn't that I was afraid to speak. It wasn't that I didn't know how to speak. I was afraid to speak because of what I had been taught. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that part of your journey with us. And finally, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
Oh my God, girl, you is not finna get me to cry on the end of the
show. We need waterworks. No, just kidding. Happy tears.
Oh yes, happy tears. I'm not the first in my family to do it. I'm the first on my side of the family to do it. For me to be Black in business, growing up, I knew early on that there was something about me that was different. I wasn't the girl who was going to get a quote unquote good job, but I didn't have examples of I didn't even hear the word entrepreneurship until I was probably in my 20s. And so I didn't know that this could be possible. And so for me to be Black in business is like thinking about my grandfather and who left school when he was 6 years old to take care, in the 6th grade to take care of his parents. He had limited education, but he was very, very brilliant despite that, thinking about what it could have meant for him if this could have been his life. And so for me, I don't take that lightly. I don't take the idea that I can be Black and I can be a woman and I can do this work. I don't take that lightly at all. So and I do this work because I am Black, not despite the fact of being Black.
So powerful. So powerful. Thank you so much. Shereese, this has been amazing. Such a wonderful time. So much value, insight, so many gems, and such a beautiful spirit. I thank you so much for being on the Black to Business podcast. And people are going to want to know, how can they find you, connect with you, and support you? So please do share.
Yeah, my number one platform is LinkedIn. That's where I spend the majority of my social media time. So I'm on other platforms, but if you want to connect, that's where you can get my attention. And then just, follow me on, or, check out my website, ShereeseFloyd.com. And yeah, you want to reach out, Shereese Floyd. What is it? Shereese at ShereeseFloyd.com.
Love it. Again, Shereese, thank you so much for being on the Black to Business podcast, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. What an incredible conversation. I don't know about you, but I am feeling so inspired and empowered right now because Shereese brought so much wisdom, authenticity, and practical guidance to the table. It was an absolute pleasure having her on the show. And I loved how our conversation flowed so naturally and how Shereese shared her own experience and insights. It felt like we were just sitting down and having a real talk with a friend. And that's the beauty of this podcast. We can create a space where we can have genuine conversations and learn from each other's journeys. Now I want to hear from you. What were your biggest takeaways from today's episode? Did something resonate with you on a deeper level? If so, share your thoughts by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, because your feedback means the world to us, and it also helps us reach more Black entrepreneurs who can also benefit from our discussions. And remember, you don't have to keep this knowledge to yourself, so share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. For more information about Shereese and the resources she mentioned during this episode, head over to our website at blacktobusiness.com/149. And there you'll find additional resources, links, and ways to connect with Shereese and witness my life. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate your continued support, and I will chat with you next week, same time, same